Welcome to the Cybrary podcast.
Well, welcome back.
Welcome back.
Welcome back.
Welcome.
Welcome back.
Well, welcome back.
Welcome, everybody. I'm Ryan Corey, CEO and co-founder of Cybrary, and I'm excited for you to join us on today's episode. Let's jump in.
Welcome back to the Cybrary podcast, everybody. I am Thomas Warlocker, the head of creative services here for Cybrary, and today we are speaking with Nick Moy, one of our instructors here at Cybrary. How are you doing today, Nick?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Kind of jumping in, I wanted to talk to you about how long have you been in the industry itself?
Sure. So I've been in IT for a little bit. It's been a while. I want to say professionally, I've been working in it for about 12 years now. But I grew up in the industry. My dad, my family, they all do IT in some segment. I have a lot of developers in my family, so always been around it.
Okay, something you've been doing for a while. I'm guessing you've built your own PCs a couple times and stuff like that.
Yeah. Built my first PC when I was 6. Got into strategy gaming around that age too, and yeah, I've just been doing it for a long time. Just been around it.
Yeah. Do you still build your own PCs or anything, or has that kind of been left in the past a little bit?
That's funny you ask. Like just last week, I was looking for parts, and graphics cards are just off the shelf. Like you cannot find them anywhere. And if you buy them secondhand, people jack up the price like $500-$600. So I went ahead and bought a pre-built PC this time, and we're doing that.
Yeah. When I started PC gaming a little bit, at Roller Coaster Tycoon and The Sims and stuff. And my parents are older and didn't understand computer gaming and stuff. And they're like, no, the computer is for work. It shouldn't be where you play games and stuff like that.
Right.
Back when, dial-up internet that you couldn't really do anything anyway. So I switched over to console gaming. But I know a lot of people that build their own PCs, and graphics card is a constant struggle. I hear from them that it's either sold out or the new one's coming out or something like that. So
it is crazy.
Now, you've been in it for a while. You said what, like 12 or so years? How did you start out? What did you first, what was your first role like?
Yeah. So my first role was actually working with my dad's consulting company. He was a systems engineer. He was very, very skilled at what he did, especially with Linux systems. And he owned a company in South Florida. And so I was a kid actually helping him, remove viruses, running networks. I was actually running cable like in the tile ceiling at like 10 years old. and I got to learn, what that looked like. We were connecting IP cameras and phones. And so I got to learn about IPX really at a really early age. Wow. And just networking, systems. And at that age, it was kind of like, okay, I knew how to connect routers, switches, hubs. We were doing hubs at that time. And some servers and the PCs, but I think like the majority of my job there was mainly just kind of like fixing viruses, like removing viruses, dealing with malware, doing end user support, and just kind of helping him out. So I kind of started there and then worked my way up into a help desk on my own. And there's actually a story to that. There's like a transition. So I was doing the IT with my dad, and I didn't like it. I wanted to go into medicine. And so I went to college for medicine, and then realized I was going to be in school for like 12 years and accumulate like $300,000 in debt. And so I said, you know what, let's take a step back. I jumped into a help desk role to kind of figure out my life. And, at the time I was getting married and we were having kids. And that's when I kind of buckled down and focused on like finding niches within IT that I'd be interested in and just going, full force into one of those.
Yeah. You said you've been in the industry for about, 12 years, and, what if you were just finishing school now? Not that there's anything wrong with the medical field. We definitely need doctors and things, but just a completely different life trajectory. And learning how to run cable and stuff at 10, kind of gives you a little jump start on some people for sure. Understanding just the physical network side can certainly help. Sure. Probably helped when you were starting out in the help desk and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Can you remember any like early hurdles or anything that, you had trouble with when you were first getting started? Maybe not when you were 10, but
Yeah. So when I was first getting started on my own, so when I left college and decided to go pick this up and not work for my family, which I think there's some comfort, obviously, when you're working with your dad. There's teaching, there's mentorship and counseling, there's less expectation that you need to be a professional. And so leaving school, I think I was 20, or no, I was actually doing side work earlier than that. I was working part-time in college, but officially leaving college and making this a full-time gig, I had an associate's degree, but I didn't have any certifications, and my peers did. And even though I might have had more experience than them, they had a bachelor's degree. They were a little bit more focused on what they wanted to do at the time. And I was starting to hear from my boss, like, hey, you should go after certifications. And that idea was extremely scary. I remember picking up the Network Plus and just thinking, yeah, I've done this stuff before, but this is actually like intimidating that I'm going to go drop, I think it was like $450 or whatever for the exam. And what if I fail it? That thought of failure was super scary. It's very, daunting and big and dark, and just not something I wanted to deal with. So that was probably the biggest hurdle, was just kind of like building that confidence within myself in the career that I was building.
Yeah. And I mean, that's great to hear from someone like yourself. You said you'd been doing it since you were a little kid. You pick up that Network Plus stuff and you're like, oh, I know a lot of this, but now it's, the exact meaning of things and like the terminology and all that stuff that, you're maybe remembering and picking up. And, you pick up that, 900-page book or whatever it is now. And it's just like, oh,
it's
no,
a fat book.
There's one I can see it from where I'm sitting. It's on a table over here. I mean, it's a huge book. They still come with like the discs so you can kind of follow along and stuff like that. But for somebody who already had kind of a background in it, even then, like having some hesitancy and getting in and be like, oh, is this the right choice? Or it just kind of seems like this monolith, this cliff that you're going to have to climb.
Yeah, that was it, man. That was tough. And at the time, like I said, we were growing our family and I was looking for that job security. And I remember applying to jobs that I was definitely qualified for, but I was getting managers and recruiters looking at me, questioning me because I didn't have the credentials that they were looking for. I couldn't check all the boxes, right? They wanted the bachelor's degree. They wanted a few certifications. I think at the time I had the A+. And that's a good cert, right? If you fix PCs, it's a very valid certification to get. And if you're trying to grow your career, it's one that you want to like pick up just to get that foundational knowledge. But they were looking for network, they were looking for CCNA, they were looking for maybe a security plus or something like that. And I was really intimidated by those certs. And I remember them saying to me, we're going to offer you like $45,000 a year or $50,000 a year. And I needed more than that because my wife was pregnant with her second baby, like one income family. Like we obviously need to bring in a little bit more. And that struggle really pushed me to a point in my life where I had to buckle down and say, I'm going to push past my fear. And I'm not only going to get these certifications, but I'm going to do it faster than people tell me that it took for them. And I was hearing people say like, oh, it took me 4 months to get the security plus. It took me 28 days to get the security plus.
Wow.
Yes.
I was just going to ask like, I guess, which order did you do it in, or how did you, just buckle down to do that? Cause I mean, security plus is huge. I mean, it's just as big as Network Plus, if not maybe a little smaller.
It's a little smaller. The book is anyways.
Yeah.
The content from Network Plus definitely crosses over into Security Plus. So to your question, the order was Network Plus, Security Plus, and then I over to SSCP. And I was fortunate because I jumped into Western Governors University's bachelor's program online, and they already had the vouchers, they had the courses. I did order my own books to help me because I like reading out of books, but I just followed their recommended path. And I just made it a point to try to get one cert a month, if not a month and a half, depending on what life was kind of throwing at me at the time. But yeah, just trying to really stay on top of it, dedicate at least, an hour a day to studying. And my wife thought I was crazy. Everyone thought I was crazy because I didn't have a life for like a year and a half, but it was great. No regrets at all.
Yeah, I mean, a year and a half of no life, or 12 years of no life if you have finished your medical studies. But yeah, I mean, just a very ambitious plan for you to just understand, like, I need to jump in. I kind of need to do this stuff now, and
Right.
it's going to benefit me if I do it as quickly as possible.
Right. Yep.
Looking back on that now, do you have any advice for people maybe trying to break into the field now who might be just starting to look into, cyber, or, what certification should I get, or where do I start?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's a really fair question. And I hear it a lot. You want to look at where you're at. What do you know? Like if you're currently working in IT, what's your title? Are you a network engineer? Great. Do you want to go into security? Great. Security plus, SSCP, learning some of the foundational principles of cybersecurity is a great way to start if you're heading down that route. If you're starting out from help desk and you want to get into a little bit more, a specialist type role, like go for your network or CCNA, begin learning that. You may already know it, but just having the certification, builds the confidence, and it shares that confidence with other, recruiters and managers and whatnot. So that would be my recommendation is, try to buckle down on those things. And I would say another point is don't sell yourself short. You're smarter than you think. You can definitely hustle your way through these certifications. One guy I coach right now, he's actually on the path to cloud security and he's studying his AWS certs. And he was going after the cloud practitioner and he was like, I don't know if I can do this. I told him, like, listen, you can pass this cert in 7 days if you really apply yourself. And he was really doubting himself. And I said, listen, you got 3 weeks. Let's set a goal for 3 weeks and let's get this thing checked off. And he passed it first attempt, 3 weeks. And he was just hitting the books and hitting the courses and just doing really awesome. And he killed it. So
awesome.
Yeah.
Congratulations to that guy, whoever you are, or girl, whoever you are. Congrats on passing your exam. I think that's something good that you touched on previously is that, depending on what your interest is going to help determine on maybe what speciality you want to go into, because, like cybersecurity is a giant field. It's not like, technically you and me both work in cybersecurity and we couldn't have more different jobs. So there are those little niches you just kind of want to figure out, what might be right for you is, different than what might be right for me.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think that's a good thing to kind of tell people, and that it's, you do need to have a little ambition, a little hustle. Like there are going to be, like you said, you're smarter than you think you are. It might seem like, I don't know how I'm going to do this, or, a lot of people don't pass the first time on their exams. Like that's completely normal. Yep. Did you find yourself, were you passing everything first time, or did you take a couple times?
No. So I had one certification in my degree program. It was the EC Council cryptography specialist. I failed that exam twice. And I studied, I hustled my butt. The exam wasn't written the way, like I wouldn't recommend taking the exam because I thought the exam questions, I found duplicates and there were some technical issues with it, but it was just a difficult test, and there wasn't a lot of study material. So I can definitely say, I fail all the time. Don't be afraid of it, fail forward. Don't go back. Don't, sell yourself short again. You just keep moving,
Yeah. I mean, I like that term, fail forward. I mean, you're not going to know what you don't know unless you try, and then you get that immediate feedback. It might take you 3 or 4 times to pass an exam, but like once you pass it, like I guarantee you're going to remember all the stuff that you got wrong for sure.
Absolutely. And you're going to apply to the next test, and whatever, like for study methods or whatever, that I did learn a lot about myself during that process. And I learned what worked and what didn't. That was one of the big things that I was kind of worried about when I was studying for my first IT cert, or first or second. It was like my network plus, right? So I didn't know how to study for the certifications, and so I wanted to make sure that I refined that process, and I knew what worked for me. And every cert's a little different, but don't be afraid to explore it and fail. It's okay.
Yeah. And I mean, the way everybody studies is different too. I mean, back when I was in school, I used to I had a notebook that had all my notes in it, and I would read it from the first part to the end, all the way through. And then I would do something else for like 20 or 30 minutes. And I would go back and read it all the way through again. And that's just how studying worked for me, but
Yeah.
it's different for everybody.
That's so true.
Yeah. So what is your current title? What is your current role that you're doing now?
Yeah. Okay. So I am the VP of Security Engineering for Fairway Independent Mortgage. It's a mortgage company here based out of the United States.
Interesting. Yeah. And I mean, you wouldn't really think immediate, mortgage company and cybersecurity going hand in hand, but almost every company has, a cybersecurity team now, or an engineering team. How did you get into more? Was it just the next role or the next position that was on your, career path that you're going on?
Yeah. So I was working at a Big Four consulting firm, and I was leading the cloud security practice for their federal. It was like the Department of Treasury, all the agencies that fall under there. So we had a bunch of delivery center projects that were going on for cloud, Azure, GCP, AWS. They were looking for a person to kind of help lead that staffing and education wise and all that stuff. So I signed up for that, and we just kind of kicked that off. That was going well. And then once the COVID situation hit, the pandemic hit, I started to get some people reaching out to me if I was interested in moving over. And lo and behold, I had a recruiter from Fairway reach out, and they said, "Hey, we're looking to grow our AppSec practice. Would you be interested?" And I was entertaining it. So that's kind of how that whole thing happened.
Yeah. Now, what's a typical day like in your current role?
So at this point, there's a lot of meetings, there's a lot of planning, strategy. I work very closely with my manager, who's the CISO, and a lot with, our VP over security operations and governance. So within InfoSec, there's a lot of planning. We do have to plan for projects. When developers come to us and say, "Hey, we want to kick off a new AppSec or a new application development project. We're going to, start the planning process." We have to begin asking them questions, doing, rapid risk assessments, threat modeling. We want to do an assessment on the security posture of, where they're currently at, if they are like embedding anything that's already existing, and just a lot of strategy, a lot of planning conversations.
I think it's funny that the first thing you said was meetings. One of my old managers when I was an engineer was like, "Yeah, the more important I get, the more meetings I have and the less engineering I get to do." He's like, I don't know if this is what I want. So I think that's funny. That's like the first thing that pops into a lot of people's minds when I ask them, what's a day-to-day like?
Yeah, it's crazy, dude. Every Monday and Tuesday, like everyone will ask me, "Hey, do you have time?" I'm like, "Nope, it's back-to-back meetings."
Yep. I'm
talking morning until dusk.
Talking all day long today. Yeah.
Yeah. So
I guess off of that, what do you like most about your role? Like, what's something that you enjoy doing or that you have fun with?
So there again, I'm going back to my childhood. I enjoy strategy games, right? So I like, moving pieces. I play chess actually competitively. So I like that aspect of my job now, is that point of where I can be strategic, I can collaborate with other leaders, and we can, find weak areas for improvements, and whether that be in cybersecurity or just like organizationally, and work to improve them, and starting to notice those changes.
Yeah, interesting. So do you say you still play chess? Do you say you play competitively?
I do a little bit.
Where do you play it, like local tournaments or online or something?
I used to do that. Yeah. So me and my brothers, we were all very competitive. We'd go around the state. We played in nationals a few times. So we were very, very competitive in chess. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Did you watch The Queen's Gambit on Netflix?
I did.
Okay. Did you like it? Is it accurate?
Oh, yes.
A chess novice,
yeah,
made me want to learn way more about chess for sure.
They did a great job, I thought, and I think that it was very accurate as far as like the depictions of what a tournament looks like, the stresses. I actually learned something I was not aware of what the what the chess environment looks like at a international level, to the point that she was playing at, and so seeing the cultural impacts and just the pressure in other countries like Russia was pretty cool. It was pretty intense too, but I really liked it.
Yeah, and that's fun. I mean, coming from somebody, you wouldn't automatically make a connection between chess, a game or something like that, and your current role, but there are some elements of, what you talked about, strategy and like, thinking out ahead and stuff like that, there is a direct correlation between those things. So cool that you got to bring, a childhood fun hobby game into, your work.
Absolutely.
Well, switching gears a little bit, I got to talk to you about Cybrary a little bit, since you are one of our instructors here. What got you excited about Cybrary? What made you want to kind of start working here, reach out to us about being an instructor?
Yeah. So when I was in that process of, kind of leveling up my career, getting my certifications and all that, I kept finding myself looking online for other resources, and I wasn't finding a lot of great stuff out there. I found some really good stuff on Cybrary. So I was actually using your courses for networks and Security Plus and all that stuff. And when I got to a point where I was starting to dabble into the cloud, there again, not finding a whole lot of great content, but at the same time, I kept hearing, if you want to be an expert in your field, you should teach. You should, it helps you kind of reiterate the information you're learning. You get better at it, you're knowledgeable at it, you're helping other people. So win for everybody. And so that's what kind of struck the nerve for me on that. And I actually was, I was actually at jury duty, and I was looking, I was like in line, and I'm like on my phone, and I'm looking for, teaching positions. Like what can I do on the side, help make a little bit of money and kind of build this thing that I'm curious about. And I found some open positions for AWS instructors for Cybrary. And I was like, this is great. Like I just passed my solution architect associate for AWS. Let me just try. Let's just see if I get in. And I got in.
Awesome. Yeah. I mean, I've worked with you on a couple of your courses so far, and it's been fun working with you and seeing the content that you're putting out. What courses so far have you done?
Yeah, so I have a few courses on AWS specifically. We have one for Cloud Practitioner, which is a certification. We have one for the Solution Architect Associate, which is another cert. And then we have a few one-off ones. I think we have one for A+, where I kind of helped contribute to that a little while ago. And right now we're working on an Azure Administrator, which is the AZ-104 certification.
Okay. Can you give me a little detail on those first two certifications? Like what might go into those cert, or that role, like what role that would be good for?
Yeah. So the AWS Cloud Practitioner cert is a really good one for anybody that works with a team that is dealing with AWS very heavily, or you guys are like, it's a core thing that you guys are working with. It doesn't have to be for technical people only. I recommend it for anybody that does business, leadership, project planning, like a Scrum Master that is leading a team of developers that work in AWS. It's a great cert for them to go after. It's not technical in nature. You're just going to get familiar with the services. And the idea is that once you pass it, you're educated. You can hold a conversation with your team on what they're building. Because AWS it's very confusing. Like they have a lot of services that sound similar. Mm-hmm. So being able to test it and study it, it's good. I think it's really helpful. Okay. For the other certification, it's a little bit more technical in nature. So it's the AWS Solution Architect Associate, and that one is going to be for those that want to learn how to design and build solutions in the AWS cloud.
Okay. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. Kind of. It seems not opposite ends of the spectrum, but two different certifications for different skill levels or different roles, depending on what you want to do.
Yeah. And I would say that if you're dabbling into the cloud, it's a good way to start off with like the Cloud Practitioner and then go straight into the Solution Architect Associate. You don't have to do it that way, but I see a lot of people do that. That seems to be like the rite of passage for many people.
They kind of build on each other, I'm guessing.
Yeah. So the Cloud Practitioner introduces you to like a plethora of core services, and then the Solution Architect basically teaches you how to design things with those core services.
Okay. Yeah, that's pretty cool. And I know from our conversation yesterday that we had that you're actually an AWS SME and you help create some of the tests now. Is that right?
Yeah. So I help write the test questions. So we have a couple meetings a year where we get together and we sit down and just for a week we just kind of brainstorm on potential test questions and just write as many as we can. Submit them, and we hope that they get onto the actual tests. So a lot of people do it. Like they have multiple teams that are contributing, and so they try to get I know it's hundreds. I don't know exactly how many, but they test it. They go through a couple like beta and alpha tests and whatnot. And whatever ends up making it to the final tests, we get rewarded for and all that. So it's a pretty cool game too. They make it fun.
Cool. I guess, do they let you know if like your question got chosen or something like that?
Yeah. So they have like a reward system when you're an SME. So with the reward system, you get points, and with the points, you can cash in to get like swag prizes and stuff like that. So I'll know after like a month after I've done it that I got so many points, and I know so many of my questions made it through the various rounds. So it's pretty cool.
Get a cool like AWS jacket or something like that.
Yep, exactly.
Well, that's cool. And, for anybody listening that might want to take one of Nick's courses, not a bad person to learn from, somebody who helps make the tests, so not a bad person to learn from. Definitely.
Thanks.
And I mean, going over your courses, I mean, what would make somebody interested in those, or what, are those specific certs like a good fit for?
Yeah. So if you're looking to kind of pivot into the cloud, or maybe you're already working there and you want to get your certification, the courses are really good because they're going to guide you through the fundamental services that you need to learn about. If you already know the services because you build, it's just going to help you kind of focus in on the core services that are going to be tested on, right? So you want to make sure, because I think there's like 80 or 100 different services out there right now. They're constantly adding more. Mm-hmm. So I don't know exactly what the number is, but there's only a select few that are going to be tested on in every certification. And so the courses will help you figure out which ones you need to, point your attention to and not waste your time.
Yeah. And it probably helps, like, especially like the practitioner one, like give you a little bit of a base knowledge to then maybe understand what specialty or something you might want to go into, or what focus you might want to go into.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, great. Yeah. I mean, I don't have really any more questions or anything for you, Nick. If anybody wants to follow you, do you have any social accounts or anything like that?
Yeah. So you guys can reach out to me on all the major social networks at Nick Moy with an underscore at the end. So funny story there. My brothers are actually social media influencers. And so a lot of people like to squat on our names. So I can't get Nick Moy just as it is. I had to put an underscore there. But yeah, aside from that, yeah, I'm on Twitter, I'm on Instagram, I'm on LinkedIn. I'm very active on LinkedIn. So just search for me. I'm sure you guys will add my stuff to the description. But yeah, you guys can find me there. And I'm also on YouTube. So youtube.com/Nicholas Moy.
Cool. What are you doing on your YouTube channel, Nick?
So I coach people on cybersecurity and cloud, basically, helping people go through the trials and tribulations that I went through my career, and kind of help building up that same, foundational block as they go through. So I get questions. I like to answer questions, coach people. I am going to be, diving into like more specific, like simulation type environments where we're going to be running through scenarios, and you'll get to see like what a DevSecOps pipeline looks like, and how we can do, cloud security things like, deal with compliance and stuff like that. So a lot of really cool stuff, working on building out that content.
Very cool. Yeah. I mean, that's cool. Just kind of like an extension of some of the stuff you do, and a way to kind of give back. You've been in the industry for a while, help to pass along the knowledge to the next generation, maybe the next 10-year-old who's trying to learn. Oh, I think you froze. Oh, you froze. Okay. It froze for like just a second.
Okay.
Well, yeah, Nick, thanks for stopping by. For anybody listening, make sure to check out all Nick's social accounts and his YouTube channel. If you have any questions or feedback for the Cybrary podcast, you can reach out to us at podcast@cybrary.it, or any of our social accounts as well. I'm pretty active on LinkedIn and Twitter. You can find me at @ThornAround. But thanks again, Nick, for stopping by. Any last thoughts or anything?
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me. To anybody that's interested in going into cyber, if you're on the fence, definitely go for it. And if you're looking for some areas where you can do really well, where there's a lot of job openings, cloud security and AppSec, that's where it's at. So I'm always looking for new people. And so if you guys are interested, start heading down that path, because I guarantee you're going to do pretty well.
Awesome. Thanks, Nick.
All right. Thank you.